Good morning, everyone. You all look fresh as daisies after your evening excursions. Nice to see. Hi, I'm James Covey. I'm the web team director for Dalhousie University, and user-centered design is a subject very dear to my heart. So I'm very happy to be introducing Pascal Laliberté from the University of Ottawa, user experience designer, and I'll throw it over to you, Pascal.
Okay. Everybody can hear me? Good? Yes? Hi, everyone. I'm Pascal Laliberté. I do user experience design. That's not my title, but that's the stuff I like to do. What about you? Any web designers here today? In the room? Yeah, a few. Web developers? Yeah? Any programmers? People that, okay? Yeah, programmers. How about systems analysts? I know there's a few. Yeah. Business analysts? Okay. Support analysts? People that do support. Good job. Okay, any managers in the room? All right. Okay, so a last one, another one. How about any CIOs? Oh, we got a few CIOs. All right. Happy to see you here. And any user experience designers, even if that's not your title. Okay, I'm the only one. Okay, all of you, what is it that you're in the business of doing exactly? What is it that you're in the business of doing? You're in the business of information technology, but what is it that you actually do? You build technology, you're building technology. Not a lot of you are building technology. Some of you are analyzing technology. This is why the conference here is not about building stuff, it's mostly about acquiring software and setting it up and stuff like that. So you're analyzing technology. In the end, what you're doing is you're managing technology. You're managing technology that a human ultimately experiences. So it's fair to say that all of you here are technology experience managers. You all manage experiences that people have with technology. That's ultimately what you do. All of you. So let's go away with that title and let's go to the concrete stuff. So let's start at the bottom. Let's start with the user experience designer. The user experience designer has a big job of doing user-centered stuff, like to think about the experience. So what does he do? He ships user interfaces. User interfaces is one of the things that he does. So how does it look, how does it work, and stuff like that. A user interface will have interactions. Interactions are the things like, for example, a button, what happens when you hover over it, and when you have a drop down, it exposes layers on your page that are not just clicking away to some other place. Within your page there are interactions, there are pop-ups, there are notifications, there are things like that. So the user experience designer designs interactions, ships interactions. User experience designer is also responsible for words. Words on the screen are very important, right? Because it's by detecting the right kind of word that people say, yes, that's the direction I have to go in. So choosing the right word is something that is a concern for user experience designers. Navigation is also something that is a concern for user experience designers. He deals with how people go and navigate through an app, through a certain website, through a certain deliverable of some sort, certain UI, and how does he move and do the transaction he wants to do. So people, when they come to a website or to an app, they have a task in mind, they have words that are resonating in their mind, and the user experience designer does that. So that's what the user experience designer does. How about the web designer? The web designer does all that stuff. Also does graphics. There's animations as well. What about the web developer? The web developer ties that all in. Web developer will create the backend code. So what is the web developer really doing? He's connecting the front end to the data, right? So he's concerned with data integrity. Data integrity is the web developer's job, making sure that it works with the APIs and works with the backends. What happens when there's a problem with the data, or when the problem with writing to the data or whatever? So there's an error message, right? So error messages and exceptions, those are something that the web developer does. Interesting. So the web developer will write some words, right? That's not really part of his job description to like choose the words, but he still has to come up with some. Later somebody else is going to review them, right? So the exceptions end up on the screen and they're an interaction with the user. They tell the user there's a problem, something didn't work right, or there's a success or whatever. So he's also part of the user experience. Exceptions are also words. You have to choose some words. So you have to be sort of thinking about the user, about those. So this small examples. He's also responsible for the loading experience. How does something load in progression? And if he does his job well, he'll think about lazy loading and stuff appearing on the page just when they're needed, and stuff being loaded into the page's existence just when needed. So that's all the stuff he's responsible for. The programmers do all the same stuff. They also push the APIs, they do low-level stuff, they do algorithms and whatever. There's all these things happening as well. They're also responsible for the data integrity, loading experience, and the like. Let's jump CIOs, managers. Let's go all the way to the top. I'll come back to the managers and CIOs later on. For now, let's go to systems analysts. What do they do? Systems analysts do the servers, they do all that stuff. What are they concerned about? They're concerned about uptime, right? They're concerned about uptime. They're also concerned about the loading experience as well. How stuff loads. I mean, a big part of how stuff loads and how fast they load has to do with the servers, the back end, the data layer. Are you using memcache? Are you optimizing in that sense? So all those things are important for the loading experience. They're also concerned with data integrity, the backups, and all these things, and how fast they are and how reliable they are. The business analysts, what do they ship? They ship requirements. The requirements are really important because they focus your energy on the right things. And to do proper requirements, if you go all the way to the end, you actually do user research as well. You not only ask your clients, you go further and you do user research as well, which is another discipline. It's something also that the user experience designer does, is user research and influence the requirements. The business analyst also is concerned with processes and putting them in place. Processes or interactions as well, right? If you have a process in the back end, it translates to a process on the front end, and it impacts the interactions and the navigation. Also does user documentation. Business analyst also does user documentation. What about support analysts? What do they do? Well, they're the ultimate user interface. They talk with the people, and they talk with the people with certain words, and and the words they use, in order to be coherent, they have to be the same as the ones on the screen, or better yet, the ones on the screen should be the same as the words the support analysts talks with the users so that they get understood. It has to be coherent. Those are words, and those are interactions that the support analysts are doing. So all of this stuff that you're responsible for shipping, all the stuff you're responsible for doing, you can do an okay job with it, or you can do a great job with it. So what are the qualities of these things? What kind of qualities can we give them in order to go from okay to great? Let's start at the bottom. The user interface. What's a good quality for a user interface? Anybody?
Intuitive.
Intuitive. Easy to use, right? That's a good quality. So I like intuitive. I'm going to propose another word for easy to use. For example, if I was going to show you a user interface, how are you going to know that it's intuitive, or how are you going to know that it's easy to use? I show it to you, and you say, yeah, that's easy to use, of course. You're not going to know if it's easy to use until you have to use it. So you can't really judge a certain screen by how easy to use it is. It's hard to do it, but the thing you can tell when you've hit the nail on the head is if it's clear. Clarity is a good quality word that sort of encompasses easy to use, intuitive, because it has in mind the thing that the person has a task to do and has words that he's looking on the screen for. Clarity, sort of, you know when you see it. A user interface could also be fast. That's another quality of a good user interface. A fast user interface. It never goes out of style. Fast never goes out of style. Slow is always less good than fast. Because when something is too slow, people are going to turn away. They're going to look at their mobile phone. Oh, it's done. I'm going to continue my work. You get the sensation that if something is fast, it's easy to use. Never goes out of style. Clarity and speed are always winners. Things you can bank on. You're always going to win. Interactions, qualities for those: clear interactions, fast interactions. Words that are clear words. It's the right word. Spend some time finding the right word in what you're doing. If you're not wasting time and energy debating on which word to put on that button. Right? Getting the right word will make a big difference. Navigation, clear navigation, fast navigation. Graphics, clear graphics. Animations that are clear, animations that are fast. Data integrity, clear, fast data integrity. How about reliable? So this is a third quality that I'm suggesting, reliability. You know that it does the stuff it's supposed to be doing and it doesn't corrupt the data. Loading experience, a clear loading experience. You're not loading stuff you don't need to. It's fast. It has a perception of being fast. Even if there's tons of stuff you're loading onto the experience of loading the screen, you still get the important stuff first and the not less important stuff later on. Fast and reliable as well, that it's always the same, it's consistent. And reliable uptime. Requirements, clear requirements. I can't understate how important this is, because you can get a clear user interface, but if the business side and all the tasks and all the things, the operations that the person has to do in the thing has not been properly looked at, and if your business is all over the place, doesn't matter how great your navigation is, if you don't have a business that is really focused on the essential and you're trying to do all these other things, you haven't reached clarity. And if you haven't reached clarity, you can't do anything great with that. So that is supremely important to get to the intent, the core intent of what you need to be doing with your technology. To get to the nut of the intention, and you'll reach clarity. A process that is clear, fast, and reliable. And user documentation that is clear and reliable. So those are the three qualities that I propose for some good deliverables of yours. So here's the question. If you were going to set out to do, these are three, Pascal, you're asking me too much. 3 qualities, I can't get to all that stuff. So how about if you pick just one for the next year? Just one, you're going to be, this year is going to be the year of this quality. And then later on, we're going to try to attack the other ones, right? Which one should you start with first? What I see a lot in the higher ed industry and a lot of similar industries is that we start with reliable. And for good measure, right? Six Sigma, there's some courses on that. It's a hot topic. You want your services to be, available when it's needed. And that's a very good quality to have. You want them to be up. You know, if it's not up, you get calls. You don't want calls, you know, you just want stuff to run smoothly. So of course that's great. And then you can get to fast, and then, you know, if you have time, you'll get to clarity. How about we do the opposite? How about we switch that around and we go for clarity first? If we get to clarity first, and we try to get to that first, you'll get something that's easy to use. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Day in and day out, the people that are working with the software you produce or the stuff you're installing, are they saying, oh, I love this software because it's reliable? No, they're going to be like, yeah, it's okay, you know. I hate it when it's down. But if you tell them, if you put something in place so that it's like, wow, man, my day job is to perform these tasks, and this piece of software is saving me so much time, and I love it, and it's so clear, I just love it. And you know, sometimes it's down, but you know, the rest of the time it's just so easy to use, I love it. If you focus on clarity, you'll have fewer features. Fewer features means that it's going to be easier to maintain. Fewer features and fewer options. You don't give a lot of options to your users. You just tell them this is how it works. But you also have to do your homework and figure out what it is that is important for the task at hand. But you have to take a side. You'll have fewer options to give to the user, and things in your software is going to be simpler. And if you have simpler software, you have fewer systems to maintain. As a systems analyst, as a server guy, you'll have fewer things to maintain and keep up. That means you'll be able to hit you'll have time to get to fast and to optimize your systems. And you'll have time to make them reliable because you'll have fewer things to maintain. And we're all in a big problem with accessibility, like especially in Ontario, I'm assuming other provinces as well. We've got to make our stuff accessible. We've got to retrofit a lot of our stuff. Well, if you can concentrate on making things clear at the beginning, you're just going to you can have fewer things to retrofit. You're probably going to have thought of accessibility from the beginning. And if you have a user-first mentality, your people with a disability are a user, and you're going to have a user-first mentality, and you're going to build something just with accessibility in mind. It just makes sense. Why are there ramps in front of all the buildings now? It just makes sense. You know, there's benefits to everyone to make something accessible. You have keyboard shortcuts and all these things that a lot of people really crave. So it's going to be a multiplying effect. So that was part one. Part one was, you're in the business of managing experiences that are clear, fast, and reliable. That was part one. At this point, I'm inviting you to give me your thoughts on that. Is this, you know, how crazy is this? You're probably thinking some, yeah, but. So what are those yeah, buts? Are you guys doing this day in and day out? Is this false? I mean, why isn't this happening? Is this happening in your business? Yes.
I find we're fighting, in terms of web design, we're fighting someone's notion of corporate style. And that's driving and torquing the user interface in directions that have perhaps very little to do with fast, clear, reliable.
So, gentleman here is saying that he's fighting with people's interpretation of corporate style, and I'm presuming the style of the stylistic choices of the interface and stuff like that.
Right.
And you're fighting over colors instead of fighting over tasks.
Corporate standards, so colors, fonts,
yeah.
Extremely working interruptions.
Yeah, you're fighting against that. What else?
Pascal, someone else is mentioning online that clarity is actually very hard to do. I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yeah, clarity is hard. You know when you get to it, but you know you have to work really hard at getting to it. Can you show an example or two? I haven't prepared any examples. I'll think about think about that for sure. Yes.
Is for features is something that goes against what our users are asking.
Yeah.
All kinds of functionality. So how do you deal with that?
How do you deal with having all your clients, you said clients, right?
Yeah, users.
Users, clients, okay. How do you deal with clients wanting all of it and not just a fewer features? The key thing here is that they want everything, but they don't want everything presented to them on the screen. And so sometimes one feature, if you nail that one, it'll take care of a feature 2 or 3 because it'll sort of encompass it, or it'll just do a good enough job for those tasks that are really important, and you make those really delightful, and they may not want those 2 other features because you've nailed that one really well. So so when you get to the nut of the fewer features kind of idea, you may have a long tail of features, but those long tail of features are going to be implemented in ways that are really cost effective and not really be a big pain for you to implement. Whereas if you really nail the important ones, you'll still get the benefits of reduced complexity because you'll be able to concentrate on the important, and all these other ones, you'll be able to create simpler solutions to attain those requirements. That's my belief, and that's usually the pattern that I see. Yes?
About a little over 10 years ago, there was a book published called The Inmates Are Running the Asylum by Alan Cooper. And he was complaining about the fact that the people who design user interfaces are developers. And they're the wrong people. And I'm currently working with a team that maintains applications that were built by developers.
Yeah.
And they take all of the fields in the database and they put them in a bucket, they splash them at the screen, and it's all there. And all the users see all the options for absolutely everybody. There's really no attempt to say, what are the roles? They only worry about that when it comes to authentication and security. But
Yeah.
what are the roles? What do I really need to see based on what I need to do here?
Yeah, exactly.
And not working with the business analyst. The business analyst might give them swim lanes, and they don't even use that in their design.
So the developers are creating the interfaces, and they're the wrong people to do them.
That's it. That's, I think, a big part of the problem.
I think everybody can get educated on creating good user experiences, and I don't believe in sticking stickers on people and saying that I'm a developer, so that's not my job. You can develop a sense of taste, and you can develop your own sense of putting user first. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do design. You're not a designer, you do design, right? Yeah. Yes.
My fear is with targeting clarity and saying these are the options you get when you have that pushback from the clients, the pushback from the users, and then you go to add those features, and suddenly your clarity is being lost because now you're throwing more buttons in, throwing more words on the screen more. So it seems that trying to manage those expectations is good, but if you're not successful and you have that pushback, suddenly your interface is turning.
Yeah. So a gentleman here was saying that getting to clarity is hard because you're getting pushback from your clients, right? You're getting you're trying to push back the clients to not have everything, but then at a certain point you have to let go and you have to succumb, and you have to put everything, and then you try to do some inroads, but you just can get that far, and you have to succumb at some point. I'll take another one. Yeah.
Sometimes isn't it right to actually make some internal complexity into these tasks? Because sometimes some of these tasks we actually don't want to make it so simple that it's actually easy for the user. We don't necessarily want them to say delete their entire database.
Yeah.
But you may expose that. So how do you deal with that complexity level?
Some tasks, a gentleman here was saying that some tasks you don't want to make simple, like deleting your whole database. I would argue that you expose it to the right kind of people, and any kind of task that's really important, you make really accessible and really simple to use. And it's again, like you focus on the core tasks that people are trying to do, and the not so core tasks. You can deal with them later. But that's essentially how I would say that. But I don't want to just give you the answers right now. Those are really tough questions, and they're really good questions, and I can't give you answers that are going to be satisfactory to like your concrete examples, because all of us are in a sort of deficit situation where we got so many clients asking for so many things, and we can't get to clarity, and we're just a small team, and there's like these resources problems as well. We're trying to push back, and it's really hard. So part 2 is going to be about exactly how does that change my job? How exactly is my job going to change with that in mind, putting the user first in mind? All of you here have a job to do, and we've talked about that. All that stuff you're in the business of doing, and all the ways you can do it, that's the what. Now I'm going to talk about the how. So the how, I'm going to propose 7 approaches. So you're going to be thinking, Pascal, you really want me to implement those 7 approaches? Are you crazy? This is the deal. I'm going to propose to you that next Can Height, next year, you're going to be celebrating that in one project, you've used 2 approaches out of that 7. That's the deal I'm proposing. So there's 7 approaches here. I'm going to propose to you to pick 2. The first one is mandatory. Everybody has to, for that one project, you use number 1 and pick one of the 6 others. So in one project, then the next year, you're thinking of projects that are happening. Is there something I can do to implement 2 approaches in that one? So let's start with the first one. Let's get to them. Start with the user experience is a given. For that project, you're going to be in the business of putting yourself in the shoes of the person that's using the software. And even if you're not you don't have to be the end user designer, the user interface designer to be end user in mind. We all have, we have a deliverable, somebody's going to use it. It might be your peer, your colleague. If you put together servers, it's going to be your colleague that's going to be going into those servers. What's going to be the experience of using those servers and logging in and installing stuff? You're all delivering something, you're all shipping something. There's bound to be something that there's bound to be a user of the thing you're doing. If you write a report, you write like any type of document, somebody's going to read it. Think about the user that's going to be using that thing you're delivering. If nobody's delivering your thing, nobody's using your thing, why are you doing that thing, right? So think about the user first. So what does that mean? That means these, right? Think about clarity, think about speed, think about reliability. There's bound to be something in here that you can think about, and using empathy to put yourself in the shoes of the person. That's the first one. The second one, iterate. Iterate means do more than one shot at your thing you're doing. Whatever are you doing? Do more than one shot at it. So what that means is that you go from planning to development to some kind of implementation. It doesn't have to be live. It can be in testing, but you're shipping something. You're like installing something. You're putting something in place that's tentative, or it could be live, and then you can see other people using it. But you doing one shot at it, and then you go and you do a second shot at improving it. Yeah, but Pascal, that means I'll have to spend twice the time. Yeah, well, negotiate that with your client. You know, okay, you want this when? Here's the deal. Halfway mark, I'm going to give you something, and then we're going to take time to do it again. There's bound to be at least one project, like a fruit, easy hanging fruit that you can pick off. A project that you can use, that you can say, yes, okay, this is going to be the project, and we're going to do 2 iterations of it. Second thing is, it's not necessarily going to take twice the time that you would have done, because when you know you'll never touch that software again, I mean, yeah, your heart's not really in it, right? But when you know that, yeah, I don't like what I'm doing right now, but I know that I'll have another chance to improve it, then you hurry for your first one and you ship it, and you give yourself a goal. Yeah, you know, ship something, and then after that you'll have more time, like because you put a lot of energy and you put passion into it. you'll actually do something faster because you're intentional about what you're doing and you're putting your soul into it. You'll have time to do another pass. You may be able to do 2 passes in the same amount of time you've done a single pass in other projects. Third approach is compare 2 versions. So iterate means you do version A and then you do version A+. You improve. Compare 2 versions means you do an A version and then you do a B version. And then they're based on slightly different assumptions about what you think the tasks are and the things are and how people are going to use it. So you identified assumptions at the beginning, and you're like, I'm not sure about these 2 assumptions. I'm assuming the user wants this, I'm assuming the user wants that. So you do one version A that's optimized for that, and do a version B, and then you compare the 2. There's a bunch of ways to compare the 2. In web design, you can actually do A/B testing on the screen, and then see how they perform. But you don't have to do that. You can just do 2 things, do 2 documents, do 2 server design diagrams. You do 2 of them, and then you look at the merits of it, and you sort of taste both of them, and then at some point, one of them is going to be better. And the same thing, you just hurry to make one, and then you make another one. Watch people use it. Watching real people use it is another approach that you can take. What does that mean? It means usability testing. So there's a book that you can use, that I've used in the past, is Rocket Surgery Made Easy by a guy named Steve Krug. It proposes a way to do half-day sessions of usability testing with 3 people, and it's a blast. I suggest you do a business case for 2 usability testings, one to test the thing you're doing, and another one to test the improvement of that thing you did. So like a month later or 3 weeks later, it's a great way to do it. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do user testing in order to watch how people use it. If you're a server admin, you put servers together, what you can do is you can just not tell people how to use it, and you watch them try it, work at it. You don't give them the answers. You sit next to that person. I just want to see how you're doing with this. I just want to see how you use it. And these are the credentials. This is how you go in. I just want to see. And then you're going to see the barriers. You're going to see like the question marks that are going to be on top of the people's head, like where they cringe and where they stop, where you didn't think they would stop. And it's going to be a really great learning experience for you. Number 5. You take a project and you decide that you're going to be doing something that you really love. You do it because you love it. And so you're not going to listen to the clients. You're just going to do something that you care for intensely. And it may be one of those things. For example, you're a programmer, you're a designer, you do something that happens to be something you use yourself. You're a student also at the university. You take courses and you're asked to do the mobile version of the course timetable or something. And what you do is you do something that you would really like using, and it's going to show. The people that are going to be using your thing you're going to tell that somebody really cared for this. Overlap roles, number 6. In that project, you're going to decide, I'm not just going to pass over this thing to my colleague for him to do his job. We're going to work together to overlap our roles. I'm the server guy. I'm going to give server access, root access to a developer, and the developer is going to give power to change the software to the server admin. You guys have to teach each other. But what's going to happen is that instead of having a gap between you guys, you're going to have an overlapping area of vocabulary and concerns that you can be able to debate over. You're going to be able to debate over choices and variables names and things like that really make a lot of sense. And it's just going to make your product better. Change the deal, number 7. Change the deal is for that project, you're going to be proposing a significantly different way of working, and you're going to be shipping a document that says, this is what I propose we do. And you propose it, you put an ROI in place, you put numbers on it, and that's the thing you're going to be doing. And in the spirit of doing something that's user first. Those are the 7 approaches. The number 1, and pick one of the 6. I'm going to turn to managers and CIOs now. So finally, I'm getting to you guys. Your team is responsible for all of these things. You're in the business of making sure that those things are shipped at the minimum. And if you want to do it well, you equip, you corral all of the variables and all the clients so that they can do them well, clear, reliable, and fast. But you have your own deliverables, right? You have the things you do, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I mean, you do have the things you're shipping that are really important. You ship meetings, you prepare meetings because your job is to influence, your job is to communicate. You prepare presentations in order to convince, in order to inspire and to motivate. You prepare reports in order to equip and empower your people to act on decisions by themselves and to make their own decisions. You create documents that people are going to be using as a reference. You write emails that try to convince and try to also make sure that people are on ball. You also do one-on-ones. And all of these things, you can make them in an okay way or make it in a great way. And if those same qualities apply. And the same qualities apply to you as a person. Are you clear? Are you fast at responding? Are you reliable as well? So those qualities are also things you can espouse as well. And you can use all these same approaches. You can think with the user in mind. You can iterate on all those things. You can compare two versions. You can watch real people. You can love it. You can do something that you really love, and that's going to inspire other people. You can overlap the roles, and you can change the deal. Very quickly, changing the deal is a big part of what you guys are doing. You got your workers. So this is one setup. You got your workers, and basically they put their managers first. This is a typical setup I see. Managers put their CIOs first. The CIOs, they put their clients first. But who puts a user first? It's not really clear whose responsibility to put the user first. It's not set up the right way. Let's change that. How about this? The workers put their user first. Hypothetical world. The managers put their workers first, not the CIO. The CIO puts their manager first. The managers first. And the clients put their CIOs first. No. The clients, well, they have to be side by side with you guys. And you know what? Let's stop calling them clients. They're business partners. And they too are in the business of making the user's experience better. They just have a different portfolio of concerns and different things they do. You're the IT guy. They're the people that are, they know the business. Together you but how do you do that? You don't optimize for a user, you optimize for a bunch of users. So how do you do that? You test against some metrics that you're both working with. User satisfaction is one. And those metrics, you can automate how they're collected, right? Surveys and automatic emails and stuff like that are collecting small bits of information about the user satisfaction. You can do usability test. And you can be accountable to it. How many projects have had a usability test this past year? 0, that's a red flag. What is your threshold? How many projects have you had that have had a secondary usability test, whether things have been improved? That's another metric. Another metric, user adoption. You've put your email in place for student, but nobody uses student email anymore, right? User adoption. Time to completion, uptime. And all of those metrics you can invent some more by thinking of those qualities: clarity, speed, and reliability. So that's the kind of changing the deal that you can be doing. You can be doing project by project. I suggest service by service. Take a service and you make it user first. What if your clients are your users? Well, hey, super. If your users are your clients, you can use those same metrics. Of course, there's some things that are not going to be working as well for metrics. Usability testing is going to be easier for you to do. You're not going to deal with user adoption. They're forced to use it. Time to completion, uptime are probably better metrics. So that's what it is. Make those part of your requirements when you're a business analyst. Make those part of your requirements. So that's what the managers and CIOs, changing the deal, the deliverable you have is org design. That's it. So all of you are in the business of managing technology, making technology more human. What if your CIOs and your managers don't deliver on that promise, don't do that top-down stuff, do the bottom-up stuff? Why? Because you'll love every minute of doing it. It's going to be fulfilling and purposeful. You can have at least one project in the next year where you can use those things. There is a way for you to do that. So what's going to be your project? Thank you for listening.
Pascal, we've just got a couple minutes for questions, but I couldn't help noticing a couple of items really hopped up online. One was someone was suggesting that apps need to be reliable in the first instance, otherwise users won't use them. So what do you make of that argument, shall we say?
I would say that makes a lot of sense, but it's one of those things where you have to have both done. But it's a question of what do you do first? People are going to be expecting that it's an easy-to-use interface. And I mean, if you do something that's really boring to use and really bad, it may be reliable, but your people are not going to really love their job, and they're not going to be really liking to come to the university. They're going to feel it's a drag. Yes, they're going to send emails because it's unreliable, but they're just going to be unhappy anyways. So they're just going to give you all your angst. You don't want that. They're going to forgive if you've done a great job. They're going to forgive if sometimes it's
Also, someone mentioned the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion that tends to trump some of these other considerations.
Sure.
We've all been there, I think.
And sometimes they will, and when they do, you have to succumb. The thing, though, it's a battle about doing inroading with these people. It's about influencing them. It's about inspiring them to do something different. It's about inspiring them to take a risk sometimes. And sometimes you're gonna have to put the hat of the changing the deal kind of guy. You're gonna have to say, use empathic listening. So what you're telling me is you want this thing on the homepage. Okay. How about I propose this? And you sort of you use empathic listening, and you let them state what they want, and don't be defensive. Let them listen to them. Yes, that's what you want. Good. I agree. I hear what you're trying to do as your concern. Is that the right concern you're trying to address? Okay, I get it. If that's the concern you're trying to address, might I suggest this? There's always a way to deal with these people that have a final say. They're paying the money, and they have this really bad idea. There's always a way to reel them in and, sort of dodge the question and do something else.
We're past 9:30, so I'm afraid we've got to let people go, but I know that Pascal's quite available for questions on a one-to-one basis, so thanks all for coming.
Thank you.